Preparing your horsebox for winter is possibly something you've never really considered before, but it's actually really important to safeguard its fixtures, its fittings and its functions. So I'm going to give you a quick show round of what we do and we suggest you do to get your horsebox ready for a colder time of year. Hi, I'm Matt from Burrington Horseboxes here in North Somerset. We specialise in the conversion build of 3.5 ton horseboxes, new, used and built to your design. So one of the first things to do, and of course you do this all the time, don't you, is check the oil and all the fluids under the engine. So check the levels are correct, so as you're storing it away for the winter, you know you've stored everything at the correct level. Remember too to check your tyres, so check the tyre pressures, make sure they're at the right pressure. You should then go and check them monthly or regularly, and if they're going down then you know you've got a puncture. So as already said, check your tyre pressures. You may want to consider covering the tyres though whilst it's in storage. You can buy wheel covers, but a piece of wood placed over them. Why do we do this? Well, tyre walls can suffer in sunshine, causing the tyre walls to crack. So covering them up for long lengths of time whilst stored will help preserve the tyre walls. Also, it's really important, ideally, to not leave it stored on the same point on the tyre when it's parked. So if you can drive it regularly, this will put a charge back into your batteries and it will mean that the weight of the horsebox is not on the same point of the tyre all winter. So another suggestion, it sounds a bit odd, but store it full of diesel and AdBlue if your horsebox has it. This one does. The reason for that is it stops moisture, condensation forming in the top of the fuel tanks, allowing water to mix into your fuel, which can do lots of damage to the engine. So fill it up before you put it away. So in the horse area, you want to make sure that you clean it, of course, but empty all your tack out too. So any reins, leather products, empty them out. Anything that can hold moisture, you need to take it out and store it somewhere warm through the winter. Another suggestion that might seem daft, but give it a wash before you park it and stow it for the winter. Washing it and ideally polishing and waxing it will give it a protective coat and protect it from dirt, grime and bird lime. And if it's stored for several months, these can do untold damage to the paint. So it's worth taking the time to wash it, and if you can, give it a coat of some sort of polish or wax will help look after it and preserve it as it's stored for the winter. So this is a horsebox with living, which means it's got some cooking facilities. It has a gas bottle. Our suggestion is disconnect it, turn it off, disconnect it, and ideally take the gas bottle off. This is an LPG red bottle. They have a much lower freezing point than the blue butane bottles. A blue butane bottle will freeze just below zero. So if you've got a blue bottle, definitely remove it from the horsebox, pop it in the garage at home, keep it somewhere warm. Horsebox also has a horse wash. Really important, and obviously that you drain all of the fresh water out of the living area. So using the horse wash, drain the tank out and make sure it's empty. And then our suggestion is you disconnect this and don't leave it in the horse box. I'd advise putting it with your tank in the garage or somewhere warm at home. This will stop damage to the shower head. Now this horse box has a toilet. Really important that you empty, if yours has a toilet, empty the toilet cassettes. So make sure you drain it fully. I advise too removing it from the horsebox through the winter, and again popping that somewhere warm, and this will stop damage to the rubber seals in the top. So in the toilet itself, if you are unable to store its cassette somewhere other than in the horsebox, then my suggestion is you crack open the toilet cassette blade like so, allowing it to breathe and air. If your toilet has a flush tank, really important you empty all of the water out of it before putting it into storage. So it's really important to get all the water out of the horsebox to stop it freezing during the winter. The way to do that, of course, run the taps until they run dry, and then really importantly, once the water stops coming out of the tap, turn the pump off, assuming your horsebox has a switch for that, and leave the tap open. This will allow the air in the tap to expand, water that freezes to expand, push the air out the end of the tap and protect the tap from splitting. Now your horsebox may not have a switch to turn the water on and off. It might just be controlled by the tap like this one. What we do with our Burrington horseboxes is we provide a chock block with a little flat bladed screwdriver where you can just disconnect the pump from the electric, so you can turn the tap on, drain the water and then disconnect the pump. which means you can leave the tap open and not flatten the battery because the pump won't keep running. So maybe your horsebox has a leisure battery for the living area. If so, I'd recommend disconnecting it and considering removing it from the horsebox and taking it home, popping it somewhere at home in the warm where you can keep it charged. This horsebox doesn't have a leisure battery, everything runs off the starter battery. So on this one I would consider disconnecting the starter battery and every 4 weeks or so coming up, reconnecting it, starting it, letting it charge up and run for half an hour. What I'd also suggest is that you remove batteries from your accessories, things like the CO alarm, taking the battery out and stow it somewhere. If your horsebox has a fridge, as this one does, then make sure you clean it, empty it before putting the horsebox into storage. This fridge has a catch on the top, allowing it to breathe. Most fridges have that facility. However, if yours doesn't, then pop something in the way of the door to stop it sealing shut. The fridge will go mouldy and black very quickly if you don't do that. Before putting it in storage, make sure you empty all the cupboards of foodstuffs, especially fresh foods. Tin food is going to be fine, but the more you can empty the cupboards, the more you're going to allow them to breathe. So empty them out, and then I suggest leaving the cupboard doors open to allow increased ventilation throughout the inside. One of the concerns that many owners have are mice and rodents getting into their horsebox whilst it's in storage. Now, mice can do untold amounts of damage to wiring looms, seatbelt mounts, seatbelts themselves, so it's definitely worth investigating if you have had mice in the horsebox. But how do you tell if you have? Well, we have a little top tip for you. We call it the chocolate test. Simply place a piece of chocolate on some silver foil on the floor of your horsebox, and if you come back to it in the spring or any point during the winter and there are teeth marks in it, it's been disturbed or it's gone, then you know that you've had something in the horsebox. We call it the chocolate test. In the cab, I would suggest you clean it before storing it, keep things from going mouldy, and leave the cab vents open, which will help ventilation and air move around inside the horsebox. So I trust you found this video useful on how to prepare your horsebox for winter. If you need help and assistance, then do get in touch. We'd love to help. Thank you for watching.